Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Success Great podcast with your host Hussein Talib. I have a special guest today. Richard Friesen is the creator and developer of innovative and inclusive Mind Muscles Academy. He works with financial professionals, independent traders, business leaders, and entrepreneurs who want to expand their mental game to make more consistent profits. Richard, welcome to the Success Great podcast.
Hi, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I've listened to some of your previous podcasts, and I'm very impressed with the quality of your guests, your questions, and the creative conversations. And I really appreciate the quality and being invited here.
Well, it's the pleasure is mine to have you here, Richard. Awesome. So tell us a little bit about basically your story. How did you start in the financial world and where are you now?
Well, I started as a therapist. I was a family therapist.
Okay.
I have a master's degree in clinical psychology, and I had a friend who was trading on the floor of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. So he was starting a company, and he invited me to come down for the summer and trade. So I started trading with him, and I was told I was the worst trainee he had ever had. They put me in the middle of the S&P 500 pit. Now, there's no big pits anymore, but there was like maybe 700 people in the pit. I mean, it was just crazy with hand signals, and I didn't know what I was doing. But eventually, I found my way to options, which are more cerebral and a little slower. And eventually, I opened a desk on the Pacific Stock Exchange on the options floor, trading options. And there I spent about 2 decades trading for them and then trading for myself.
Cool, awesome. That's 2 decades. That's a very long time.
It is. It's a long time. And getting up here in the West Coast, we had to get up at 4:30 to be down for the open. So I spent 2 decades getting out of bed very early.
What is the time the market opens usually?
It on the Pacific, it opens at 6:30 in the morning.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about money. So as people, do we need to have, let's say, talk or a conversation with money? Because I hear people like, if you want more money, you should love money. So what's your view on that?
Well, what I noticed was as I built a trading firm, that I would hire traders with a lot of experience. And we had a methodology. It was, in baseball terms, just to hit singles and occasionally doubles. In other words, we didn't take big risks, but we just made small incremental gains and made them steadily in all kinds of markets. So some of the traders I hired, I would fund their account and they would start just making money day one. But other traders, they would make some money, boom, lose it, make some money and lose it. And they had the same methodology. They had the same opportunities. So I brought in a hypnotherapist. My sister Wendy was newly minted. She was eager to apply her trade. And what we discovered was that one of the traders so adored his father and held him in such reverence that if his money, he never made as much money as his dad, to make more than his dad so easily would be disrespecting his father. So he took care of it. Another trader came from dirt poor poverty in West Virginia. I mean, dirt on the floor kind of almost poverty. And when he started making money, he realized that he was no longer part of his family. And in that area, the extended family was really more like a clan, really important. So he just wouldn't make it. And I have a couple more examples, but I won't go into them all. But what occurred to me was that making money has its limits. We have sometimes a thermostat or a ceiling that we can't go up over. And I had my own story about my own ceiling. It takes a little bit of time to tell, but I hit a ceiling myself and finally busted through it. So Now that I'm a coach and I work with entrepreneurs, business people, professional money managers, and active traders, what surprised me was that same mechanism still applied.
Mm. Yeah.
People would hit a certain amount of wealth and income,
And they
but they
basically
weren't,
stop at it. They stay flat.
yes.
So what I am getting from you, it's basically maybe it's a mindset game. So because people limit themselves, like you mentioned, someone's father made certain amount, or if you are working and the average, let's say, base salary is like certain amount, so you keep this mental block in your head, like this is what I am going to be getting for a long time. It's not going to be a double that or 10x that.
Mhm. Exactly right. Now, no trader, no entrepreneur, no hedge fund manager has ever come to me for coaching and said, I don't think that I'm psychologically prepared for wealth. I think that when I hit a certain amount of profits, I'm just going to stop or give it back. Nobody has ever come to me with that problem. But when we do our work to find out what's happening, we can often go back to childhood and processes and beliefs that were created early on that are still driving us subconsciously and depriving us of the goals that we really want.
Yeah, so so it's basically that people uh maybe because I don't know, maybe if I speak from myself, when we are children, for example, we don't really think that much about money. We maybe think about the stuff we buy with money, the good things, but we don't think about money. And when we grow up and we see certain things like families and friends at a certain level, we and I actually, like, for example, Jim Rohn, I don't know who it is, maybe Jim Rohn, who says surround yourself with people that you want to be like. So if, for
Mhm.
example, surround yourself with five poor people, you will always be most certainly poor. So if you want to be rich, for example, surround yourself with people who are actually like that. Right?
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, what you're bringing up is really important because one of the exercises I do with the clients, I say, okay, let's imagine you've gotten your money goals, your finances, you're wealthy. I ask, what of value will you lose? And they go, oh, I won't lose anything. What do you mean? That'll be wonderful. But as we press forward, we will lose connection with some people. We will lose connection with the community, maybe our family. Maybe our family will come to us to take care of them and we resent our little brother. It could be all sorts of things are going to change. So what happens is, in fact, I was listening to one of your podcasts and I forget the name, but he said we have a comfort zone.
Yeah. David Taylor
And
Klaus, yes.
yeah, we have this comfort zone. And even if it's a struggle, even if the comfort zone is difficult, we know how to survive it. In other words, we've grown up with that struggle and we know all the games to play. We know how to survive it. But do we know how to survive something that's significantly better?
Mm.
Our survival mechanism, that deep rooted survival mechanism says, oh, you think that's better, but we don't know. But
Yeah.
we know how to survive the
Yeah,
struggle.
exactly. So yeah, because it's you are already like you have a roof over your head, you have food on the table. So this is the basic stuff is already met. So why bother and try to get out of the comfort zone or whatever it is? So exactly. So now what is the right conversation with money? How should people look at this?
Well, what we do is we look at all the subconscious anchors that are holding people back. And there's a lot of belief around money is evil. It's wealthy
Yeah.
people are bad. In the United States, we have the 1% that are reviled. They're not being taxed enough. So we have social justice, fairness. We have a whole bunch of things that really good people, I mean, good hearted people who want to do good and be good not just for themselves. They're not selfish. They want to be good for everybody. But what they're taking in is a lot of cultural beliefs that don't serve them. So we work on all of that. And we do this with the golden keys. And the golden keys are first awareness. So we become aware of all this mess in the subconscious. Secondly, we do acceptance. In other words, rather than fighting all those things and with willpower and discipline and trying to overcome them, we say, okay, these are voices, these are parts of yourself that at one time were created when you didn't have other options. They have a positive intent for your life. But now that you're all grown up, they may not be serving you as well.
Yeah.
So then we look at these intentions and we say, what's the positive intention? And then we say, is there a better way to do that? So rather than fighting all those things, we're saying, oh, okay, let's let them grow up with us and be more effective.
Yeah, exactly. Everything. This is one of the purposes of my website, for example, and the slogan that I have is to raise the standards, because any one of us, all of us, we should be like improving every day on every aspect of their life. And having, for example, more money, it's not bad, because to me, for example, speaking for myself, if I have more money, I would simply can give more to people who actually need it, or maybe help people get more,
Okay, can I stop you there for a minute?
Yeah.
That is one of the red flags that I see in my clients.
Okay. How is
In other
that?
words, in order to be wealthy, which is bad, I need to say I'm going to give it away and help other people. Now, that is a real generous, good-hearted thing to do. But sometimes, and I don't know if it's the case from what you just said, it comes from guilt.
This is what you see, mostly it comes from guilt?
Yeah. Now, if you make a lot of money without guilt, you have no need to give it away. It's absolutely okay to make it. And then you'll look into your life and say, geez, how can I make the world a better place? Great. But for the clients who say what you just said, that, oh, I'm going to give it away, that tells me there's something. Now, if you were a client, we would start to go down into the deeper issues that created that phrase. So in order to reframe money, I call it certificates of appreciation. So in other words, if we do business with each other, which we may in the future, I may hand you some money or Bitcoin or whatever.
Hey, do you like Bitcoin?
And you're going to say, thank you, Rich. This is a certificate of appreciation. I am now going to give you some value.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go right to the bottom line, and this may shock you and your viewers. I mean, you mentioned earlier that I say some crazy things.
I did.
If you deliver value and you make a lot of money, you are contributing more to the world than somebody who's complaining about our financial system and capitalism and taxation and all that. The more money you make honestly, the better you are contributing to the world. Wow. No guilt, no need to give it away. But what we're talking about now is the value we're delivering. The money is a symptom of that value. So we're not chasing money, because if we chase money, then we don't deliver the value, shortcuts, we cheat people. We use it to bolster our egos, to make us feel good. We buy fast cars and fast women or fast men, whatever, in order to bolster something that's empty inside of us. But as soon as we flip that around and say, I love delivering value, and because my job is to deliver more and more value, I will be compensated with more and more certificates of appreciation.
So this is how should be looked at it. Me delivering more money and the return that I get is like giving value to me, which is the certificate of appreciation, which is money basically. Because
Yep.
life basically at the end it's an exchange of things. So right, I give some people value. This is the most important thing is to add value to the world.
Yes. So in my book,
Mm.
Conversations with Money, we flip it around. Like in America, I don't know if you're familiar with it there, because I don't know how different our cultures are, but we have some people who create something called vision boards.
Mm.
And they're whiteboards or cork boards or bulletin boards, and they pin all the things they want. You know, the cabin in the mountains, the Ferrari, the big house with a swimming pool, the beautiful women or the gorgeous men. You know, they put it on there. That's what they want.
Yeah.
But we change that. We say, what value are you going to deliver? So
Mm.
we start, what value to deliver to others? What do you need before that? What skills, what knowledge, what talents, what connections, what relationships? What do you need in order to deliver increasing value to others or to your employers, your customers, or whatever? Now, the vision board then becomes a series of self-improvement, of increasing your ability to deliver that value.
Mm.
And if we are in a place where we're no longer guilty about the wealth,
Yeah.
then we can allow ourselves to really deliver value and then rake in the money and be okay with it just as it is.
So from what I am getting now, people who are stuck financially, for me, it's like, for example, like you mentioned when I said that it's like, for example, helping people. That's that's a flip to the coin because the way I see it, for example, I want to give more people. I want to give people money because I want to help them. Because if I am richer every day or richer a year now, I am from today. So I want to help people. For example, go up whether they want it or not. But I wanted to help more. So what are the, for example, what happens exactly to us, for example, that have these points? What's stopping us from being financially stuck?
Okay. So when you want to help people, what is a healthy person?
Mm.
What is a psychologically healthy person with resilience, with abilities, with confidence, and going into the world? How can your money, once you get it without guilt, contribute to a psychologically healthy family and community? Now, here's one of my current models, that if I receive money without delivering value, it's like acid to my soul.
Oh, acid to your soul.
Acid, like hydrochloric acid.
Okay.
Because what it does is it says, you didn't deliver any value to anybody, so I'm going to give you some money.
Mm.
So if you start a school, for example, and you teach people how to deliver value, how to develop skills, that money is so well spent. So you really need to look at, what is a psychologically healthy person?
Mm.
What are the attributes? How do they behave? What do they do? And then say, how can I support that?
Mm.
My biggest issue here in the United States is education.
Mm.
Oh my God, it's going to the crapper,
It's it's
especially in
it's
inner
it's
city
it's
schools.
yeah, it's all over the world.
Minorities,
Sometimes education, especially now with COVID, because there's no face-to-face communication. I don't know. It's
and
going bad all over the
not
place.
only that, but it's going downhill. Especially if we look at cities, minorities, we have the unions that fight all sorts of school choice, and the kids there are doomed. They're just doomed to a life of non-productivity and inability or a very difficult road to deliver value. And since they can't deliver value, then they look at other means to join gangs or to be in groups that, one of the things that you mentioned was you surround yourself with people who are wealthy or people who behave in the way you want. Oh my gosh, we're really condemning them to a life of an inability to deliver value. And that is, then you lose meaning in life, you lose community. And as a result, you repeat that for generations. So if there's anything that really bugs me, it's our educational system.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier, and I remember the saying. I don't know if it's a Chinese saying or not, but it says, "Teach a man to fish for a day." Sorry, give a man a fish a day, he will eat, a fish a day, he will eat that day. But if you teach him how to fish, to do fishing, he will eat for the rest of his life, something like that.
Yep.
This is
So
what you
we
meant.
want to teach people not to make money just to make money or to want things, but the satisfaction of delivering value to our families, our communities, our groups, in the larger world. Wow. The feeling that you get from doing that is just awesome. You step into a higher purpose, a higher plane, and you become a person who really delivers value. Now, there are people, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, people who are just making tons of money. They are giving some of it back, Bill Gates especially. But the satisfaction they get no longer is from just the money they have, but the larger mission, the larger purpose that they're doing. So my goal in my online courses, in my book, in my private clients, is to get down to see what are all the false belief around money and the restrictions and guilt and family patterns and cultural memes that are going on. So we repurpose those. Then we look at, how do you want to deliver value? Maybe you're delivering value right now, but you don't even recognize it.
That's very important. Yes.
Yes. Boy, that is so true. And once we get that, and people say, who have good hearts and want to be good people, and all of a sudden we're out of the cage because I can deliver value. I can deliver massive amounts of value without guilt, without worry, without needing to somehow compensate the world because I'm a bad person. And as a result, they start delivering much more value than they did with their constraints.
Awesome. So how can I or anyone prepare themselves for better scenarios for their lives, for more, let's say, wealth or money?
Well, the first is the golden key is awareness, is spending some time. And we have exercises for that. For example, you can set an alarm during the day for every, let's say, 15, 20 minutes or half hour, and then just do what we call our sensations, emotions, thoughts. In fact, I'll do this. Let's just do this together. I'm noticing right now my stomach is tight. I'm a little nervous. My breathing is shallow. My face is pretty relaxed. My right leg's a little tense. So I just do physical sensations, and then I see how I'm feeling. And right now I'm pretty excited talking to you. So I'm pretty, ooh, this is good. The quality of my thoughts, I'm at ease. My thoughts are at ease. I know the words are going to come. I have no need to say or ah or stutter. I know that what I have to say is so meaningful to me and I want to share it. It just comes pouring out. So that's my awareness right now. So then once I have that awareness, I can let my stomach relax a bit and say, well, that's okay. I'd rather do that. I can accept. I don't judge myself. I don't say, Rich, your stomach was tight. Your breathing was shallow. I say, oh, okay, that's interesting. Fascinating. And then I look at the quality of my thoughts. I have a client who just lives in pain every day until last week
Mm,
because he constantly judged himself. He was a money manager, and if he got in late to a trade, he'd beat himself up. If he got in early, he'd beat himself up. If he got in at the right time, then sold out too soon. His whole life was delivering pain because he didn't get it right. So with that awareness, we can then say, okay, what do we want now?
yeah.
And then what's interesting is that I will ask, let's say, a portfolio manager or an entrepreneur, okay, gives me all these problems, complaints, and we go through it. And I say, okay, so what would you like?
Mm,
What would I like? And he goes back to or she goes back to all the complaints and everything. Oh, okay. I understand that. I repeat them, make sure I got that right. Yeah. So what would you like instead? Well, in other words, many of my clients don't even have a vision of what they want instead. And if they can't visualize it, their survival mechanism
kicks in.
kicks in and is not going to let them go there. So what we do is we create a world and I invite them to step into it. And sometimes they can step into it and say, oh, wow, this is awesome. And then they have to pull back right away because, oh my God, I'm not prepared for this.
Yeah, awesome. So you mentioned, for example, financial managers and these people who work in markets. Do you see some of the, let's say, people who have money, a lot of money, unhappy in certain things? Like you mentioned, when you ask someone if you want certain things, they maybe don't know what they want, and you drive them to see what they actually want. So do you see them sometimes unhappy with their lives? For example, if they have money, they're unhappy with certain other things in their life, like their relationships or whatever.
I think you've opened up a really important topic here.
Mm,
And that topic, I'm going to get serious for a moment, is the hole in people's heart.
okay.
When they were raised, they didn't feel love, or they had trauma, or somebody hurt them when they were young, or a spouse or a wife left them or hurt them. And they have this hole in their heart. So they've closed down, they've armored themselves,
Mm,
and then they look for the Ferrari, they look for the mansion, they look for the big bank account in order to fill that hole in the heart.
mm. To
And of
replace
course,
something else. This is what happens.
exactly. You've opened a really important topic. And sometimes my clients, once we look and they feel that hole in the heart, sometimes it's really painful to go there. Sometimes there's lots of tears. But once we can recognize that and say, what I want is to fill that hole in my heart, then we're no longer talking about money. We're talking about the underlying driver that's keeping them locked up in their unhappiness.
Mm, so other things affects us, bad relationships, divorce, the relationship maybe with their kids if it wasn't good, these kind of things with their parents or whoever, maybe
Mm-hmm.
even the friends who someone betrayed someone else and these kind of things. Yeah, it happens because this is I think, like you mentioned, like it's a hole in the heart. I think it's a lot tough, especially when people dealing with people and it's like a stab in the back. It's tough to get over with, I guess. I don't know. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So stabbing in the back. Oftentimes, when a client says, I was stabbed in the back by my spouse, by my
Mm.
friend, my business partner.
Yeah, there are some certain major things in life that we look to as a human as as being like, let's say, unreversible to do or unforgivable or something like that,
Yeah.
I guess.
What's interesting is almost always we can find tells or clues that it was going to happen and they didn't want it.
Mm,
Or even sometimes they set it up to be stabbed in the back because they needed to go back to their safety, to the safety of their pain. I
mm,
know that sounds crazy. I know that most of the people listening to it won't believe this. But if there's a pain that you've lived with all your life, that is safety.
mm, mm. So, okay, let me ask you a direct questions, and I want yes or no. And I think I mentioned that before. Should us as people love money? Yes or no?
Yes, a certificate of appreciation, love it to death.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about mind muscles. What is the concept of mind muscles uh, and the Mind Muscles Academy?
Yeah, well, I started as a floor trader and as a therapist. I brought those two together and started working with professional traders and entrepreneurs. And what I discovered was the conflict they had about money. So then I started working with around money and I started writing my book, Conversations with Money. I've run a couple of early courses, online courses
Mm,
around money. And so my book is going to be published this year. I'm in the final stages of choosing covers and blurbs and all those details. There's much more details than I thought there would be. Oh,
yeah.
I'll just write a book.
Good,
But
great.
so my focus now is looking at the underlying issues that are driving the problems most of my clients have, or many of them have.
Mm,
And that is bringing rapport to their relationship with money, wealth, and success.
mm. So working with your clients, do you see a pattern, for example, if it's like easy come, easy go? If money comes easy, it will go easy. And if you work really hard for it, it will stay. I don't know.
Well, a quick story. My grandfather on my father's side was during the Depression, the farm, the Dust Bowl in central Canada, moved to the eastern Canada to St. Catharines, Ontario, worked 3 jobs, and they were very religious. They were Mennonites. They, no matter how much little they earned, they gave 10% to the church.
Mm,
My dad reports having lard sandwiches, which is just, old bread with fat on it, uh, used clothes. It was embarrassing. And he managed over their lives to save $30,000. So imagine you inherited that $30,000 that came from blood, sweat, and tears. Another scenario, you're going to a convention in Las Vegas. Las Vegas, United States, is open gambling. So you walk into a casino and your friend says, "Hey, put some money in the dollar slot." And you say, "No, I don't gamble. The house has, statistically, it's a bad thing." They say, "Okay, I'll give you $1. Come on, put it in." So you put it in, pull the handle. The lights go up.
$1 million.
Coins come out. All the supervisors come running over, and you just won $30,000.
Oh, okay.
All right,
I
same
thought it was a
30,000,
million.
same $30,000. Do you treat that differently?
Uh, yeah. That's I don't know. It's really exactly. It's like the money is going to go the minute before the minute he walks out of the door for
Yeah,
the slot machine.
exactly.
Yeah, he's probably going to see. Oh, I got money, and I am going to gamble now, and he probably will lose it.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good observation. So the question then is, if money is connected to value, it is very different than when it's disconnected. If you receive money, let's say through theft or bribery or something, that money is there not a certificate of appreciation. It's a bill of indictment, and it's like acid to your soul. Yeah, you can have times of happiness. Yeah, you can have a big frivolous life, but you have to work at it because you're lacking that foundation.
Mm. I love the name, Certificates of Appreciation. That's really cool.
Yeah, one of the exercises in my course is whenever you give somebody money, a cashier at the grocery store, the automobile repair place, wherever it is, you say, thank you. Here is a certificate of appreciation. You say it out loud, and they're going to go, huh? What?
What? Really? What?
And when somebody gives you money, you say, thank you for this certificate of appreciation. When you look at your bank statements, you say, oh, I have 50,000 certificates of appreciation. Wow.
Awesome. Oh,
So
that's
what we're doing now, our bank statement isn't money, but it is a bookmark for how much value we've delivered to the world. And the more money that's there, the more money we've delivered, the more meaning we have in our lives.
Awesome. So I was going to ask you, what one takeaway would you say for this episode?
One takeaway for what?
To this episode.
No, for this episode. Awareness, acceptance, visualizing what you want, looking at what value you deliver to the world, look to engage the world with more value, and take in those certificates of appreciation without any guilt or hesitancy, because they're a measure of what value you've delivered to the world.
Awesome. So deliver value, receive certificate of appreciation.
Yes, indeed.
Richard, when can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, mindmuscles.com. I have a website for the money. It's conversations.money. So you can go there. My email is rich@mindmuscles.com.
Awesome.
So all sorts of ways to get, you can just search for Richard Friesen and I'll come up in a number of ways.
Awesome.
And may I give you an appreciation?
Yeah.
I really appreciate our conversation, the insights and questions that you've had, and your ability to draw me out and look at what's really important rather than just trivial things. So I appreciate your depth of conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here in this episode of the Success Great podcast, Richard.
Okay, take care.